Numbers 22, verse 1. So this is before Israel has gone into the land now. This is pre them crossing the Jordan River. When the people of Israel set out and camped in the plains of Moab, beyond the Jordan at Jericho, and Balak the son of Zippor saw that all that Israel had done to the Amorites, and Moab, the land of Moab, was in great dread of the people because they were many. Moab was overcome with fear of the people of Israel. And Moab said to the elders of Midian, "This horde," speaking of Israel, "will now lick up all that is around us as the ox licks up the grass of the field." So Balak the son of Zippor, who was the king of Moab at that time, sent messengers to Balaam, the son of Beor, at Pethor, which is near the river in the land of the people of Ammah, to call him, saying, "Behold, a people has come out of Egypt, and they cover the face of the earth, and they are dwelling opposite me. Come now, curse this people for me, since they are too mighty for me. Perhaps I will be able to defeat them and drive them away from the land. For I know that he whom you bless is blessed, and he whom you curse is cursed." So the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with fees for divination in their hand. And they came to Balaam and gave him Balak's message. And he said to them, "Lodge here tonight, and I will bring word back to you as the Lord speaks to me." So the princes of Moab stayed with Balaam. And God came to Balaam and said, "Who are these men with you?" And Balaam said to God, "Balak the son of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent them to me, saying, 'Behold, a people has come out of Egypt, and it covers the face of the earth. Now come curse them for me. Perhaps I shall be able to fight against them and drive them out.'" Underline verse 12 in your Bible. God then said to Balaam, "You shall not go with them. You shall not curse this people, for they are blessed." So Balaam rose in the morning and said to the princes of Balak, "Go back to your own land, for the Lord has refused to let me go." So the princes of Moab rose and went to Balak and said, "Balaam refuses to come with us." Once again, Balak sent princes, more in number and more honorable than those. And they came to Balaam and said to him, "Thus says Balak of Zippor, let nothing hinder you from coming to me, for I will surely do you great honor, and whatever you say to me, I will do. Come, curse this people for me." But Balaam answered and said to the servants of Balak, "Though Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I would not go beyond the command of the Lord my God, to do less or to do more. So you too, please stay here tonight, that I may know what the Lord will say to me." And God came to Balaam at night and said to him, "If these men have come to call you, rise and go with them, but only do what I tell you." So Balaam rose in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the princes of Moab. Have you ever wished that you could hire God to do your bidding? You know that business partner that ripped you off? You know that person that broke your heart? You ever wish you could go to God and go, "God, I need a favor." And imagine God going, "Oh yeah, what's in it for me?" "God, I tell you what, I'm going to be the best person ever if you go get Becky. Because she's been flirting with my husband, go get her. You know my business partner, Jesus, that ripped me off of that 20 grand? Go get him. I'm going to hire you out, God, to go do something to my people that I don't like. Me and you, God, I'm going to give you $15 in the plate next church if you go get that guy. I'm hiring you out, God. Go do some work for me." What's happening in the story is this. Listen to me so you don't get lost. Israel now hasn't gone into the land yet. They haven't crossed the Jordan River. They're on the east side of the Jordan. All the nations that were already there when Israel came up from being slaves in Egypt, they've now come to those nations, and those nations are scared. So Israel has already defeated a couple of those nations, and one of the nations they haven't defeated yet, which is right next to them, is the land of Moab. The king of Moab, Balak, now says, these guys are too big for me. I need to go get spiritual help. So he sends princes from his nation with a massive promise that, hey, you come, I'm going to hook you up. But here's what I need you to do, Balaam. Because I know you're a prophet of God, I want you to pray to God so that God will curse the people of Israel so I can defeat them. So now we see how God could possibly be for hire with Balaam as the prophet. Let's look at it. Number one, Israel settles in the land. Israel settles in the land. At the end of their 40-year wandering in the desert, Israel was led by Moses to the land of Canaan, which is modern-day Israel, east of the Dead Sea. There, they skirted the Moabite land, and they came to the land of the Amorites. When Moses asked the Amorite king Sihon for peaceful passage, he refused and went to war against Israel. Israel then defeated his army, and the armies of Bashan, who were north, their neighbors to the north, came down. And look at this. I want to show you on the map what's happening, because this is going to be instructive for you. Canaan is modern-day Israel. So 3,000 years ago, it was called Canaan. These are the nations that were to the right or the east of the Jordan River on this map. Now, below this screen is the Sinai Peninsula, where God gave the Ten Commandments to Moses at Mount Sinai. It's down here. It's a pie-shaped piece of land below Canaan. Below that now is Egypt. They were slaves in Egypt, Israel was. Moses pulls them out. Because of their disobedience, the whole nation wanders around for 40 years in the Sinai desert. God finally goes, now it's time to get the land that I promised Abraham. So I'm going to take you there. He takes them north now. See that little line that goes through all the nations? That is an ancient roadway that connected north and south on the eastern side of the Jordan River. It's actually a modern-day highway today. You can drive on it, on asphalt. But 3,000 years ago, it was a dirt road. The whole nation now is walking up this dirt road. They go to the side of Edom. They go kind of through and to the side of Moab. And they run into these people called the Amorites. Sihon is their king. Now watch what happens here. God has not promised them any land to the east of the Jordan. They're not to get into a fight with anybody over here. So they ask Sihon, Moses asked Sihon, we're not going to fight you. We don't want to take your land. We want to pass through peaceably because we're going in to take Canaan. So they have to go just to the north of the Salt Sea, which is the modern day Dead Sea. And Jericho's just in the north, right there of the Dead Sea. So that's where they're heading. So they have to go through Amorite land. What happens is Sihon comes down and says, you're not coming through my land. And Israel goes, hey, we just want to come through. We're not going to do any problems. We're not going to give you any issues. We're not going to take your land. We're not going to go to war against you. Sihon goes, I don't care. You're not going to my land. So you know what he does? Sihon goes to war against Israel. And you know what Israel does? Beats him and takes his land. So they just wanted to go through peaceably, but he goes, no, we're going to war. And Israel's like, we don't want to go to war. Well, you got war. Israel's like, okay. So they beat him and take his land. So now they move, watch. They move into, now they own land that God wasn't even going to give them originally. So now they've taken Sihon's Amorite land, the northern Amorites. That's not OG. That's actually a guy named Og, who was the king of... Some of you guys are with me, okay? OG, I'm from Pomona. I'm a white guy, but I'm from Pomona. So just making sure everybody's still with me. Okay, good. So Og is the king up there. Sihon was lower, Og's northern. This is the land of Bashan. The northern area was called the land of Bashan. These guys now go, dude, you can't take Sihon's land. We're going to go to war against you. So now Israel goes, we don't want any problem with you. But Og goes, you got a problem. And he comes down, he goes to war against Israel. They beat him and take his land. So now Israel's gone to war twice and taken land that they originally weren't going to take. But because war came to them, God blessed them. And I want to make this point to you. Ready? This gave Israel control of large portions of the land east of the Jordan River that they hadn't intended on taking. Listen, when believers are obedient, sometimes they are blessed through those who were trying to harm them. You know what's been crazy I've been in ministry about 22 years. And over 22 years, people have gossiped about me. They backstabbed me. They lied about me online, in emails. I could have spent literally my whole life defending myself. Now, I know it might surprise you because of my wishy-washy teaching that people might have misunderstood something I said or been offended by something I may or may not have talked about or taught. I know it surprises some of you, but it has happened. And what's been interesting to me is sometimes when I go, you know what, I need to defend myself. I need to go to war. I need to get on Twitter and go to war. I need to get on Facebook and go to Temecula Talk and go to war. Tell people what's really going on. You know, it's been interesting. The times I've done that, gone to defend myself, and I'm not saying there aren't times where you might need to go defend yourself. I'm not saying that. There are times that might happen. But here's my point to you. We live in a culture of defensiveness. Oh, you got a problem? Oh, you got a problem with me? Oh, you got a problem with me? Oh, well, I'm going to tell you about it from my keyboard or from my phone. We live in a culture of I'm waiting to be offended so I can go vomit about something. That's a culture, unfortunately, that we've kind of evolved into. And here's my thing to you. Sometimes, in fact, most of the time, if you're living with integrity, if the things aren't true, the majority of the time, it's best to let God handle your business. Because if you always feel like you got to go to war, you'll spend your whole life exhausting yourself, and you'll never change their mind. Their mind's already made up. They don't like you for whatever reason. They're gonna spew crap in your direction no matter what. So here's the point. If you spend your energies going to battle against people whose minds you're not going to change, you actually look bad yourself. You don't feel even good about the interaction, and it doesn't bring about anything healthy. It doesn't bring about anything godly in you or the situation. And my encouragement to you is this. Some of us have been legitimately ripped off, legitimately hurt, and it might not even be our fault. Israel here, they just want to pass through peaceably. Hey, can we pass through? And Sihon's like, nope, you got war. Well, we don't want war. Well, war's coming to you. And you know what God does? He gives them the land. So sometimes the blood that people are stabbing you in the back that's meant to hurt you, God turns into blessing. The shoving that people want to shove you into harm, many times God allows people to shove you into blessing. There's many times people have tried to tear me down, and I've gone, you know what, God, I'm just not going to go to war over this. You're going to have to get my back. And so I've been married 25 years, and you know, wives, they get offended for their husbands. I know no women have ever gotten ready to go to war over stuff, but it happens once in a while. Probably no women in here get irritated and upset, but sometimes it happens. And so Julie, in defense of me, would go, oh no, I'm going to tell her right now what's really going on. So she righteously wants to defend me in things that haven't been correct over the years that we've been together. And many times I've had to de-escalate my wife and go, listen to me, this isn't important. I know what's true. God knows what's true. We have to let him get my back. And you know what's been absolutely, unbelievably amazing is things that should have been like a deterrent for me or depression for me or a destruction for me, God has used to bless me even more. The knives that have been in my back have turned into blessing for me. It's unbelievable. And here's the reason I say that. If you feel like you're on your own, and I understand it, if you're not a follower of God, you're like, man, I got to protect myself. It's all about me and blah, blah, blah. I understand, but understand you will get exhausted defending yourself your whole life from people that don't understand, or they just don't like you. They just want to go to war against you. Some people just live to be at war. They think it's their life's duty to tear down somebody else, and you won't change their mind. I love this. Look at Genesis 50:20. And I'm going to teach through Joseph someday, but this is his story. You want to talk about a rough story? Think about this. Joseph has 11 brothers. 10 of them are older than him, and they hate him. You want to know why they hate him? Because he's daddy's favorite. He's good looking. He's intelligent. Dad loves him. He's a good listener. Everybody loves Joseph, except his 10 brothers. So you know what they do? They're all shepherds. Joseph's out with the elder brothers shepherding, way away from dad. And there's slave traders that come down, kind of down where that road we saw, going to Egypt, going south. And they see them, and the older brother goes, hey, you know how we can get rid of Joseph? We're going to sell him as a slave. Why don't we make some money off this? So they sell their own brother into traveling slave traders. How much you want? How much you want for that guy right there? I don't know, a couple pieces of silver. Bing, done. They sell their brother into slavery as probably a 12-year-old. They go back and tell dad, it looks like Joseph was killed by a wild animal. So they lie to dad, so dad thinks his son's dead, so he's not even going to look for him because his brothers told him he got killed by an animal. But he's actually alive, a slave in Egypt as a house slave. So get this. People have done legitimate evil to Joseph. Legit. Real. And towards the end of his life, he runs into his brothers again. You want to know what happened? There's a famine in the land. The brothers, who are shepherds, have to go down into Egypt. They don't realize their brother's still alive. And you know what happened during the years? He went from house slave to being one of the most powerful guys in Egypt. There's the Pharaoh and there's Joseph. And guess what? The 10 brothers, they don't realize that. They show up and they're looking their enslaved brother in the face. And all of a sudden they realize, are you joking? He's running the ship of our fate's in his hand. And look what his response is to his brothers in Genesis 50:20. As for you, and this is in plural, meaning all your brothers, he's standing in front of his brothers. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for what? Good. Here's the fantastic thing about serving God. Other people might legitimately do you evil and do you wrong. But God has a fantastic and supernatural way for making what people mean for evil in your life for actual blessing. It's unbelievable. You know what Joseph should have done? Like if I was Joseph, it's a good thing I wasn't Joseph. Because my 10 brothers would have showed up and go, hey guys, it's good to see you again. You know when you sold me to those traders, a 12-year-old boy, and you thought I was going to be abused and left out in a field somewhere and killed? Remember that day? I do. That was like 20, 30 years ago. But guess what? I remember every day I spent away from my dad. And here's a little thing. Oh, you need some help? I got some help for you. These boys behind me right here, they're going to give you a little help. Actually, help taking the head off your shoulders. Help them. You going to do me wrong? I'm going to do you twice wrong. You're not going to see another day. That's what's going to happen. But you know what I love about Joseph? No bitterness, no anger, in the gnarliest situation you can imagine being in. You know what he says? You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. Israel was there going, we don't want war, but you got war. And they went to war and they took their land too. So my encouragement to you is don't spend your life having to defend yourself. You will waste your life being anxious and sick about always having to go after every little fire that somebody sets in your life. Let God handle it. Because a fire that somebody sets in your life may turn into a raging blessing. Number one, Israel settles in the land. They weren't planning on it, but they did. They got the blessing of God, even though they had to go to war for it, but it wasn't war they asked for. Number two, Balak, the king of Moab, summons the prophet. Number two, Balak summons the prophet. How many of you guys remember Mike Tyson from the 80s? One of my old people up in here. Okay, Mike Tyson was a beast. I mean, that guy was heavyweight champion of the world for a reason. And if you don't know who that is because you're too young, just Google Mike Tyson heavyweight knockouts or something, and you will see one of the most amazing feats of strength and boxing ability you've ever seen. Here's what was happening for years, is guys would get in the ring with Tyson, and he would just walk up and just practically take their head off of their shoulders with the power this guy had. And so when guys got into the ring, they were already falling down. Because they knew, I'm gonna get my jaw knocked off my face. And that's what's happening here with Balak. Balak goes, you beat the Amorites south, you beat the Amorites north, the kingdom of Bashan. I'm Moab, I'm gonna get manhandled by Israel. So you know what he does? I can't take you physically, but I think I can take you spiritually. So he goes and hires a prophet that he knows talks to God, and he's trying to get that prophet, Balaam, if he can pay him enough money to come curse Israel, so God will handle Israel. He wants God to destroy Israel so Moab can live, the land of Moab. But Israel's not even going to mess with Moab. They don't even want to mess with them. They don't want to mess with anybody. But now Balak is going after after God to go get hired to destroy Israel through the prophet Balaam. The Moabites, who dwelt south of the Amorites, knew they were physically overmatched. So the Moabite king Balak sent messengers to Balaam asking for spiritual help. Balaam lived in Pethor. So nobody's really clear exactly where Pethor is. They haven't quite discovered it yet for sure, but it's possibly the ancient city of Petru, which is 400 miles north by the Euphrates River, or Deir Allah, which is 18 miles north near the Jordan River and the Zarqua River connection. Balaam had notoriety as a seer who could be hired to contact the gods and curse for a price. Wouldn't it be awesome to get paid to curse people? Some of us are good at it because we already do it on Facebook and Twitter. But wouldn't it be awesome if somebody paid you? I'm not talking cursing like profanity. What I'm talking is somebody hires you like, hey, I know you talk to God. I know God listens to you. I got this issue with this thing over here. If I give you like $58, will you go curse these people for me? So hopefully, because God listens to you, he'll go handle it. And you're thinking, that's a deal. Dude, for $58, God's going to go handle my business? So that's exactly what's happening. Balak goes, Balaam, I can't handle these people, but I know God can. If I give you some money, will you manipulate God into doing my work? Imagine if somebody told you, hey, I know God listens to you. He doesn't listen to me, but I know God's answered your prayer before. I need you to handle these people over here. So what's it going to cost to handle this section of the room? Oh, $78? Done. And you get up and go, okay, people over here in this, cursed, bad, things happen to you. And you too back there. Okay, I added somebody, that's $59. So I added her in the back there. Imagine if you got paid to go around and curse people. Balaam was known as the cursing prophet. Not profanity, meaning he cursed people. He got paid to curse people for God. So God was manipulated, theoretically, to go do the work of somebody who was paying him. And what's interesting here is in the city of Deir Allah, in the modern country of Jordan, they actually were digging around. Archaeologists have been discovering that city, and here's what they found. So here's the mound. Looks very similar to the Jordan, to the city of Jericho that we looked at about a month ago. These are called a tell, and a tell just means kind of mound or hill. And so look, the archaeologists have been digging into it, and they found some walls in an important part of the city. And it looks like an earthquake happened, and there was plaster on the wall, and they wrote a huge section, a portion of this wall had a saying on it or a big story, and the earthquake shook this kind of section of mud and plaster off the wall, and it all fell in a pile at the foot of this wall. So here's what the wall would have looked like back in Balaam's day, is it would have looked like this. So there was something inscribed on the wall, so as people walked by, they would read it, or something important had happened there, and it was all in a pile at the bottom. Well, here's what they found when they started to discover it. There's a section of it that says, Balaam, the son of Beor, a divine seer is he. What's amazing is, many people look at these stories, you're listening to me and you just go, oh, these stories are just maybe just mythology or just good moral lessons. It's actually, I'm teaching you history. I'm teaching you things that actually happened in history. And the more they dig around, the more they find the people that are in these stories. Like they find these people. And this is only 18 miles away from where the story I'm telling you happened. So this is practically in his hometown. So right in the inscriptions on this wall is this Balaam. So he was obviously super famous for being hired to go curse people. If you couldn't beat him physically, maybe we can beat him spiritually. Though not an Israelite, so think about this. Balaam wasn't an Israelite. He wasn't of God's people. He was a man that lived outside of Israel, because Israel was down being slaves in Egypt at this time. So he's living by himself as a true prophet of God. Some people call him a false prophet, but interestingly, the Bible never calls him a false prophet. Scripture never says he was a false prophet. In fact, God, the true God, speaks to him, like in the story here. He speaks to God, God speaks to him. So it's possible he was a very true prophet. Though not an Israelite, Balaam knows the true God, Yahweh. He was possibly a henotheist, which means you just believe that each nation has their own separate God. So it's possible he just was connected to gods individually as he went to go curse nations. or that he was a true prophet of God, like Melchizedek. But even in syncretism, which means when people believe that there's a bunch of gods, a pantheon of gods, syncretism means there's a bunch of gods together. Even in syncretism, knowledge of the true God has been reaching people since God created the world. Listen to me. Ready? God's been reaching you your whole life. The reason you're not following God isn't because God hasn't been trying to get a hold of you. The reason you're not following God today is because your heart is hard. You have a desire for your life that you don't want God to mess with. You think, my life's pretty good. Things are going well. I'm getting paid pretty good. I got a good relationship, blah, blah, blah. Whatever the high values are in your life, you look at those high values, you go, these are my high values. They're being met. Life's pretty good. If there is a God, don't really need him, to be honest with you. So here's what happens. Ready? God's been reaching out to your whole life. Through creation, through guys like me, through friends, through family. God's been reaching your whole life. You've known about the true God. But the only reason you're not following him isn't because he's not real, isn't because he's not true, isn't because somebody hasn't legitimately been trying to reach you. The reason you're not following God is you really are in rebellion against God because you don't want him to mess with your life because you think life's pretty good. Here's what happens. Ready? Your life's going to train wreck. Here's what happens. You're going to lose your money. That 401k, you're like, dude, this can never go away. It's going to vaporize. You know, your business that you're like, I live for this business and blah, 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 that thing's going to go away. In 5-10 years when the economy tanks or whatever. Your wife that you're like, she's beautiful, but I don't really need to pay attention to her. I told her I loved her like 58 years ago, and that should be good enough. She's going to check out, and you're going to be living by yourself, and she's going to have the kids because you were too much of a tool. And here's my point. All of a sudden, the rock-hard, arrogant, unreachable heart that you had because you think you had life figured out, the only way God reaches you is to bust your heart into pieces. All of a sudden now your heart's open to the gospel. And here's the sad reality. You didn't have to go here. If you would have responded to God when times are good, like right now, if times are good for you, if you would have responded now, oftentimes God doesn't have to take you the hard way. But many of us, because we're arrogant and hard-hearted, God has to take us the hard way. God will take us anyway. God will take us the way he needs to because he loves you. But because you love yourself more than you love God, God has to take you the hard way until you learn what it's like to love and serve God. Sometimes it's losing your money. Sometimes it's losing your family. Sometimes it's losing your health. God will get your attention. And the sad reality is sometimes not even those things work. And we die without Jesus. But here's my point. Balaam wasn't even part of Israel, but I believe was a true prophet of God. And we sometimes wonder, where's God in my life? These bad things have happened to me. A child died. I got sick, blah, blah, blah. And we rebel against God when God is using those exact things to draw our attention to him. So rather than allowing difficulty to go, gosh, you know what? Life is kind of jacked up. I need to figure out what's going on with my life. I need to get straight with God. Rather than saying that, we go, there is no God. If there is a God, I'm angry and I don't want any part of it because these bad things have happened. But what you might not realize is God has allowed those bad things, so you go, wow, there is a God. I need to get straight. So the point here I'm making is God has been reaching people since the day he created the earth. Don't ever think God's not reaching me, or God doesn't love me, or God's not interested in me. God loves you. God is interested in you every day of your life. It's us that don't want to be reached. It's us that don't want to submit. It's us that walk away. God never walks away. God is never further than a prayer. God hasn't abandoned you. God doesn't hate you. God loves you. But it's you that need to go, I submit. And Balaam is a good example of the fact that even outside of God's people, Israel, God was still reaching people. Like Melchizedek, who was back in Abraham's time. There was people all around that God was reaching, who were legitimate followers of him. Number one, Israel settles in the land. Sometimes bad will happen to you. Don't expend your energy defending yourself all the time. Leave it to God. Let God get your back. Number two, Balak summons the prophet. God is reaching out to people all the time, including you right now. As these words leave my mouth, God is reaching out to you. Right before July 4th, even. Like, how can it be? Right before a major holiday? Yep, right now. Right before we have hamburgers for 4 days straight? Yep. Yeah, why not? And lastly, Balaam speaks with God. Balaam speaks with God. When the messengers arrive and ask him to come curse Israel, not knowing Yahweh is Israel's national God, Balaam says he will ask Yahweh about it. So you know what's interesting? The God of Israel is called Yahweh. That's what God's name was when he talked to Moses at the burning bush. Moses says, who should I say is sending me? And God says, let them know I am is sending you. And the I am in Hebrew is Yahweh, which is his personal name, which means I am. I always exist, the eternal name of God. So watch this. Balaam, who's outside of Israel, ready? Balaam is, I believe, a true prophet of God because he's connecting with the true God. He talks to the true God talks to him. But he's not an Israelite. He doesn't know of Israel. So watch. Israel's God's people. Balaam's a follower of God as a prophet. Balak asked Balaam to ask God to curse God's people. Balaam, who doesn't know that Israel's God's people, goes, I'll ask God about it. Now watch. He asked God about it at night, and God speaks to him. Wouldn't it be awesome if God spoke? If you didn't have to listen to lame me. You could actually listen to God. God's like, I'm going to show up at the Promenade Mall next Thursday at 2. And you'd be like, I'm going to get my questions ready. Why did young kids die? Why is there disease? If you love people, why did people go to hell? Blah, blah. I'm going to get all my questions ready. And you could stand at the Promenade Mall and go, I have a question. And imagine the people that would come from all over the world to come to the Promenade Mall. And they'd sit on the 15 freeway for hours. I guess we already do that. So it'd be very similar to what happens every Friday on the way north on the freeway. But imagine you could talk to God. And God actually talked back. It wasn't a one-way prayer. God actually goes, here, I got an answer for you actually about why I allow evil in the world. Why your child died. Why you're sick. Why your finances ran out. I actually got an answer for that. And you could hear from God and you go, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. Balaam asks God, should I go curse the people of Israel? And God actually answers him. Balaam sends them back to Balak, his messengers, after he's told that I can't do that. And when they tell him Balaam's response, Balak, king of Moab, sends more important people and promises more money. Listen to me. Sometimes following God comes with increased temptation. Woo! I'm going to drop a spiritual bomb in your trailer park right now, so listen to me. Ready? Many of us have thought, man, if I follow God, life's going to get easier. So whatever your struggle is, I have a struggle in pornography. I have a struggle with alcohol. I have a struggle with relationships. Like I keep giving my body to men because I'm just so lonely. We all have struggles in our lives to fill that void. But now we come to Jesus. Jesus has beckoned us. I heard a pastor or whatever, and I go, man, I need to get with Jesus. I need to repent of my sin. I need to become a new woman or a new man of God. Okay. You become that and you go, yay, now my past isn't ever going to come back. But all of a sudden, you get lonely again as a young lady. And you're like, that guy's so good looking, and maybe he's a Christian. And all of a sudden, you find yourself in bed with him and you go, I'm back to the same old way. Why? In other words, why am I tempted with alcohol when, man, I thought I gave that to the Lord? Why am I tempted with methamphetamines again when I thought I gave it to the Lord? Why am I tempted with porn every Saturday night, but I thought I gave it to the Lord? I want to encourage you and warn you both at the same time with this reality. Just because you come to God doesn't mean your temptation gets less. Many times it'll become more. What that means is, before Christ in your life, you didn't even deal with it. You're like, I just do whatever. Jaeger and Meister are my two best friends. And I do that thing. When you become to Jesus now, Jaeger and Meister and all the other things you used to do before that made your heart happy or that you thought would make you happy, all of a sudden it makes you feel dirty and wrong, and God convicts you of it. And you go, why is it still doing that? Because now, you, as a follower of God, you need to deal with your temptations differently. Because you never dealt with them before. Now you need to deal with them differently, which means you need to get strong with your temptations. You need to not just say no, but actually walk away. All the bros that you used to drink with that you're like, I can't leave, those are my best friends. There's going to be some people you need to cut out of your life to make your life work for Jesus. There's relationships you need to let go of. He doesn't follow God, young lady. Cut him out of your life. You don't need a leader of your home that doesn't love God. If you're not married. I mean, there are decisions you have to make and your temptations you're going to go through that are way more difficult when you become a follower of God than pre-Jesus. And guess what? Balaam right here, And here's the point I want to make. Balaam is asked, hey, if I give you some money, will you ask God to curse these people? He asked God. God goes, nope, I'm never going to curse them. They are blessed people. They're my people. So the messengers go back to Balak, and they go, Balaam's not coming. And you know what Balak says as a smart business guy? Oh, he wants more money. Homie wants more money. No problem. I got fat cash. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send more important people, more dignitaries, and I'm going to promise him more money. So you know what? When they show up the second time, they go, let nothing hinder you from coming to Balak. And you know what Balaam does? And you know what he should have done? God's already told him, don't go. In verse 12, he said, don't go. Don't go. Don't curse those people. You know what he tells them the second time they come? Hey, you know what? Let me ask God about that. Stay here the night and I'll ask God again. Maybe after a few days he's changed his mind. Listen, Balaam is tempted with money. He already heard God's word. He already knew what was true. Don't go. I'm not going to curse those people. He asks a second time, I believe because he's tempted here. Even a man of God, tempted by big money. And so just because you follow God doesn't mean you won't be tempted. In fact, it might mean temptation will increase. And what you must do in those moments is remember what's true and fight for what's true in your life. Let me encourage you with this. Many of us screw up all the time. We're like, man, I promised to give God, $14 every month. All I do is spend money on myself. In fact, I run my credit cards up. I spend more than I make to just give myself stuff that I want. 2-day shipping on Amazon. It's like a dream come true. But God's convicted me of that. Man, I need to get control of my finances so I can give to the church, so I can give to people in need. I give 0 to people in need. I give 0 to the church. I give 0 back to God, and he's the one who gave me the money. So you make a commitment. You know what's weird is even if you give $14 a month, you're committed to give $14,000 a month. Even if you want to give $14,000, that month the Ferrari tire blows. And that thing's $3,000. You're like, I was going to give $14,000, but I got to fix a Ferrari tire. Next month, I'm going to double up. It's going to be $28,000 next month. Well, then the turbine on your jet engine blows. And you're like, that thing's $150,000. I got to fix the turbine on my jet. You know what? Next month, I'll catch it. And the point being here is when you make a commitment to God, hold to it. Because there's always going to be temptation to do something else. There's always going to be the reason not to follow God. When you make a commitment, stick to it. When you screw up, listen and I'm done. When you screw up and you go, gosh, I made that commitment months ago and I haven't done anything. Reconnect with God. You know what's awesome about God? He's a God of love and mercy. So when you screw up, God already knew. Don't go, I quit. Go, God, I want to reintegrate. I want to follow you again. And I've screwed up for months, but this month I start over. The beauty of God is he always gives second chances, and third, and 20th, and 50th, and 5 billionths. God is a God of love and mercy. Don't think just because you screwed up, I need to quit. Because you screw up, don't give up. If you screw up, just go, repent, and go, I don't want to do that anymore. God, help me to not drink again. Help me to get rid of the pornography on my computer and the sites I'm weak at. Help me to get rid of the men in my life that I know are dragging me away from you, God. Help me. Help me to give to you in my finances. Help me to be disciplined. God will work in your life. You'll be amazed how God will bless you when you want to bless the Lord with your life. Because God loves you. His love and mercy never ceases for you. Because God loves you, never, never, never give up. We're going to see next week Balaam. A donkey's going to talk to Balaam. It's one of the most bizarre stories in the whole Bible. And guess what's even weirder? Balaam's going to talk back to the donkey. For this reason, I tell you that. Next week is bizarre. But the reason is, I believe Balaam's heart is wrong because he's following the money trail rather than following the truth of God.